Good morning. Do you remember last week I spoke a bit about some tips that Alison, my mindset coach, had given me to help me with sort of motivation and get up and go to do things with Pedro after work? So I've done that this week, and in today's video I'm going to share with you how we have got on over the week with our one exercise 3 ways.
There's so many ways to be happy. You can do whatever you like. You don't have to be ready.
I wanted something simple for our first week, so I decided on a square. When it came to planning out the week, I drew a square on a bit of paper and then lines of all the different ways it could be ridden through, or in our case, I could lead him through it. And then worked out what I thought was the easiest way up to what was the hardest way, so I could have a progression over the week. We started off with straight lines for our first session. To begin with, he did find it a bit tricky. He was tapping them, rolling them with his hind feet mostly, I think it was, and just, wasn't really flexing at his joints all that well. We had done a warm-up beforehand of like walking around the field in both directions, and our usual pre-ride groundwork that I did with him before we started on the poles. But just having had 4 weeks off, being an older boy, he just was feeling a bit stiff and found it a little bit tricky to begin with. So this first session actually only lasted about 5 minutes with the pole work. It was 10 minutes altogether, but I reckon we probably did about 5 minutes actually walking over the poles. I had been intending on adding a couple of different exercises in as well, but with how he found it, I just thought, let's keep it easy, keep it basic, and we'll just stick to the straight lines. And so that is what we did. But by the end of the session, he was managing really well. He was requiring quite a lot of vocal encouragement to actually flex his joints and his hocks and lift his feet a little higher. But do you know what? He did it. A few clicks of the tongue, and he was lifting those feet a bit higher. And by the end of it, I felt his walk was much improved from how it had been at the beginning. So that was a good thing. Our second session, we started off again with the straight lines, and as we progressed through, I added in diagonal lines as well. Now, the diagonal lines really showed up my leading skills, which are pants. I'm not very good at leading him through poles. I just kind of walk in front and expect him to follow me. It's something I definitely need to practice, but other than leading to and from the field, it's not something I really do all that often, or at least not something I do that requires precision all that often. So initially the diagonal lines, they were not very straight. They were not really coming through the points of the square, but it was a learning curve for me, the diagonal lines which was an interesting little side quest, shall we say, to the pole work for the week. We then moved on to adding in halts onto our straight lines over the poles, and I was so impressed with him here. He was so sharp to my body language. As soon as I stopped, he stopped, and I was really pleased with how he reacted to the halts. I didn't have to put any pressure on the reins at all to get him to halt. I just had to stop walking, and he instantly stopped beside me. So I was really pleased with how he did with that. And then our final session for the week, we added in curved lines. So I started off with the straight lines just to warm up. He'd done like a couple of laps around the school before we started, and a tiny little bit of our usual groundwork routine. and then we went straight on into the poles. So I didn't actually film the first time of him. I didn't click, I just walked, and he walked right over them, and he did not touch a single pole. So I was so pleased. So the curved lines were my favourite, I'd say, to be honest. I'm not quite sure why, I just quite liked leading him through a curved line. It felt like the change of rein within the square itself, kind of I could feel how that was helping him. I worked out how to do a figure of 8, so we were doing figure of 8 through the square, and yeah, it felt really good. I could feel it really suppling him as we did it. He did really well on it. He seemed to find the curved line easier to sort of maneuver himself through rather than the straight line, which was an interesting little note. But then perhaps that's just because we were on day 3 of the pole work and he was feeling a bit more limber in himself anyway. I definitely would want to do these ridden, definitely the curved lines, but I do all of them ridden because it's good. The straight lines warm them up, and then you're on to the curved lines to add in some suppleness, changes of bend. So yeah, it was really good, really beneficial to do it, and to be doing it in hand was good as well because I could really see what was happening, and it brought up things for myself such as the leading, that I maybe am not too precise with the leading and kind of, go along in front and expect him to follow, when really I should be leading him from the shoulder to kind of sort of drive him forward a bit more like you would if you were lunging. But I felt that there was an improvement in Pedro's walk from the beginning of the week to the end of the week. He wasn't needing quite so much of a warm-up before we started going over the poles, and as I said, by the end of the week he was stepping over them without really touching them. So I was really pleased with how the week went. There was definitely improvement in Pedro's walk from the beginning of the week to the end of the week. I felt that he was stepping out more, he had more swing in his walk, he just felt more supple, which I don't know, is maybe an odd thing to say because I wasn't on him, I was beside him, but just the way he was moving when he was beside me, it just felt to me like he had more swing, he was over tracking more, and it just felt easier, I guess. His walk felt easier, he felt like he was finding the poles much easier. So yeah, I really feel like we actually made progress. It was only 3 sessions, but we made some progress, and doing it in that progressive way of starting with an easier exercise and working up to a harder exercise has made me feel like there's been progression, and so I felt excited about doing it, and I feel excited going into next week. Next week we're going to continue on this theme of 1 exercise 3 ways, and I've added a few more poles to our square. I haven't quite worked out the exercises yet. That's my plan for this evening. It's Sunday, and we're going to work through that next week with the aim. No, I'm going to commit to it. We're going to do 3 sessions this week with our new pole work exercise, and I'm going to be on board by the end of this week, and I'm going to commit to that. It's not a plan, it's a commitment, and I will see you next week. Bye.